green. Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go!
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go!
EAGLES, Eagles.
That is what we're here to talk about. EAGLES, Eagles. This is Birds 365 on the JAKIB YouTube channel with the Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. J-Mac, we got a bunch of things we can sink our teeth into today. Some league-wide, some still is very Eagle-centric. The ramifications of Jason Kelce's retirement are still reverberating through the city at this time. And we started on Monday when you got wind of the meeting that was going to take place down in South Philadelphia. And there's some fans that just care about what happens on the field. How are we going to replace him? What are we going to do on the offensive line? He was bigger than that and deserved more than that. And we've tried to show him more than that. And I think the great majority of the city has done that. But some people just can stay in that narrow focus lane of how does it affect the Eagles on the field? All right, we all gave Kelce his props and everybody had a good cry over him retiring. And it was tremendously well done. But now those people get to be right. Now you kind of got to get on with the rest of your life if you're a football team and figure out how to replace Jason Kelce on the field and in the locker room. It's not going to be easy in either way. Which do you think is more difficult?
I think it's now say that again. Which is more difficult, moving
to replace his contribution on the field or as a leader in the locker room, because it's not going to be the same guy. Cam Jurgens isn't going to take over as the emotional and spiritual leader of this team. Which of those two things do you think, as of right now, is more difficult for the Eagles to do? Replace Kelce's skills on the field or his leadership in the locker room?
On the field, always on the field, always. So
you think leadership in the locker room is overrated, overstated?
I don't know if overrated is the worst right word, but I'd rather have a good player than a good leader. If you say, give me a Hall of Fame player or a Hall of Fame leader, give me the Hall of Fame player. It's nice to have both, and that's what you had with Jason Kelce. But always give me the player. So, from that standpoint, I'll always, that is consistent. That's 100%. I usually like to leave that door open.
Right.
Always on the field first. So that one's pretty easy for me. And again, not to dismiss it or call it overrated, because I do think it's important, but you can't win without good players. We talk about with coaches, and I love that quote from Nick Sirianni, show me a good coach, I'll show you a bunch of great players. You can't win without players. Can't. And it's there was some running back when I covered Minnesota named Mo Williams. I don't know if you remember him, but he was a really good player. Mainly a complimentary back, did everything well, caught the football out of the backfield. Was a great pass protector, which you never see anymore. Did all the little things, all the dirty work. Everybody's got one. And I remember, the quote, you can't win without a Mo Williams. but you can't win with 53, Mo Williams. You need the star players, and you need the impact players. And that's just the way it is. And it'll always be that way.
All right, then we shall stay on the field. Cam Jurgens is the obvious choice to take the center position, although I took a call last night that guaranteed that Dickerson is going to be the starting center for the Eagles. Sorry, I'm just not buying. I know he got in the queue first to be a potential Jason Kelce replacement, but he's been so good at guard, I don't think there's any way they're moving him back to center.
Bob Groats advocates it. Yeah, it's not happening.
Groats was on that Dickerson back to center train too.
Yes.
The only thing I remember about Groats is Kelsey's not done from yesterday's.
He's also got Landon. Yeah, I'm like, it's funny because Landon was drafted to be the second heir apparent to Jason Kelce after Isaac. But I said Stoutland. Same thing happened with Lane Johnson. If you remember, Lane Johnson was drafted to be Jason Peters' heir apparent. He was going to start on the right side, then eventually move to the left side. And because he was so athletic and, just seemed a natural fit to play left tackle in this league. And then Jason kept playing and kept playing and kept playing, very similar to Jason Kelce. And all of a sudden, Lane got really good at right tackle to the point Jeff Stoutland woke up one day and said, I'm not moving him. He's too good at where he is. And I think the same thing has happened with Landon Dickerson.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. Can you make that argument at all for Jurgens? That he was that good at right guard that the Eagles say, no, we need to keep our guards. Our guards are good. I know we drafted them as centers, but they're both really good, so we got to go find another center. Is that a potential way to attack it?
No, I don't think Cam was bad by any stretch. He missed whatever it was, 5 games with injuries, so that hurt. I think he was a Pro Bowl alternate, but he was the 5th one. He was the last one, and I think that had more to do with the Eagles' reputation as an offensive line than anything else. No, I didn't see that. And he, to me, is more of a natural center. And look, Kelce signed off on him. There's a story, that he loved him as a prospect and the Eagles love him as a center. And that's what they drafted him for. And there was no immediate, Landon Dickerson, his first year, he wasn't supposed to play. He was coming off the torn ACL. Wasn't even known if he was going to be ready for week 1. All of a sudden they have injuries. Bang, he's in at right guard. People forget that. He went into right guard first. His first NFL play, he got bulldozed, if you remember that. And we're like, oh, boy. He might not be ready, might not be healthy. And he struggled. And all of a sudden, they had another injury, and they flipped him to left guard, and they got to look at him next to Jordan Mailata, and he just took off. And that's how that you saw very early on. He was a Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman at left guard. I don't think you said that very early on about Cam Jurgens. Again, not that he played poorly, but not to where Stout's going to wake up and say, I can't move him. And I think they know how important center is. So, when you have Kelce there, you can make all these decisions because he's locked in, Hall of Fame center, blah, blah, blah. Now you don't have Kelce. So you don't want to make do at center with a rookie or somebody learning or somebody's going to have all these hiccups. And Cam's going to learn. I'm not saying that, but he's been here for 2 years. He's behind the scenes. He understands the system and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't think they're wavering from that plan at all.
You mentioned Jason Kelce, Hall of Fame center, and everybody has said that. Sure, we've been saying it for a long time. We're just now emphasizing it more because 5 years from now, he will become eligible to become a Hall of Fame player. And I've heard people use the phrase lock Hall of Famer, which I tend to agree. I'm damn close to 100% that Jason Kelce someday is going to get himself a gold jacket in Canton. But I've also heard the people use the phrase lock first ballot.
Now that
Hall
I
of
disagree
Famer.
with. I think he's a lock Hall of Famer. He's not a lock first ballot Hall of Famer.
You and I see this the same, because when I heard that, it gave me immediate pause. I'm going, whoa, 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 whoa! Don't put the cart in front of the horse here. Could he get in on the first ballot? Yeah, he could, but it's far from a given. So last night I did show on WIP. I had one of our favorite football historians, Clark Judge, hop on with me. Clark said 11 o'clock is late. I'm staying up past my bedtime to come on with you, Jody, only because I like you. So he did, and he stayed up and he did the spot with me, and he threw me a couple of facts for those who have uttered the phrase lock first ballot Hall of Famer for Jason Kelce. Do you know when the last time was that they put a center in to the Hall of Fame, Johnny Mac?
I'm gonna say it was Kevin Mawai.
Yeah, which is now a while ago. It
Yeah.
isn't like centers get in every single year. And if you don't think the position you play has an effect on Hall of Fame
Yeah,
status, you're
there's not a
kidding
lot of
yourself.
centers in the Hall of Fame.
You
Yeah.
haven't been following it. Do you know when the last time they put in a first ballot center was?
Oh boy, I'm gonna have to go. I don't remember if Dawson was. He should have been. I'm gonna say Dermontti Dawson. If he was,
Not
no.
quite. 47 years ago. The last time they put a center in as a first ballot Hall of Fame. Now
Oh
several
yeah,
centers have gotten in.
I should have mentioned Dwight Stevenson as well because he should have been a first ballot. 47 years ago.
47 years ago was the last time they put a center in as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now,
Trying to do the math. I'm trying. Yeah, it's that's a long time. Boy,
it might have been Jim Langer.
Jim Langer. Yeah, Jim's good. Jim Otto, I assume, was first ballot way back.
Yeah, that's even more than 47 years ago.
Yeah.
The one thing Kelce has going for him in Hall of Fame first ballot status is who else on the Hall of Fame trajectory retired this year? Because that's who he's going to be up against is the same guys who retired this season. And oh, by the way, I can't come up with another guy who's called it quits this year that I go, all right, well, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame conversation. I don't know that there's any. So he could be kind of on that platform himself, but it all comes down to, and Clark had to use this word several times last night, and I understood what he was talking about, the queue. That they really do take into consideration how long you've been waiting. If there are guys that got votes and they've been in there and they've been waiting and they just didn't get the percentage necessary because others got it and they can only take 5. And he said there is a real attention to who's in, who's been waiting, who's been in the conversation. And we won't know who's still in the queue till like 4 years from now. Well, all right, they'll put the guys in, they'll have the guys that are left, and then we'll have a pretty good grasp on it. But we don't know who's going to go in the meantime over the next 5 years. It could still be a real tough queue. And I didn't research who's going to be new as a Hall of Famer 2 years from now, 3 years from now, guys who are going to come up before Kelce and how good they are. That's going to be a big factor too. I don't know that Kelce's getting in on.
Well, I will say that no. In fact, I would bet against it, to be honest. I will say, when I first heard people in Philadelphia say Jason's going to be a Hall of Famer, and it was probably maybe 2 or 3 years into his All-Pro run, shall we say. And I said, no, he's not. He's not a lock to be in the Hall of Fame. Only he became a lock for me basically when he hit the 5th All-Pro. Then I said, all right, he's getting in. But the first 2, I'm like, if you look at the 2010 All-Decade team, he ain't on it.
No.
It's Marquise Pouncey, it's Alex Mack. I forget the second teamers. I'd have to look it up. Yeah, and this happens in every city. It was Kevin Mawai and who's in Olin Kreutz, the ex-Chicago center. He wasn't on it. That's 4 guys right there that were considered early in his career as better centers. Pouncey was probably considered the best. And I don't know, he's got like 10 Pro Bowls. I'm spitballing. Nobody looks at him and goes, "Oh, Marquise Pouncey, first ballot Hall of Famer." For the majority of his career, he was regarded as the best center of his era. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe Mawai was, and he got in after I don't know how
wasn't
many.
first ballot.
No,
Mawai waited. He was in the queue for a good long time.
Yeah, he was in the queue. I covered Mick Tinglehoff. It took Mick. He got in as an old timer. Took him 30 years. I don't know, but rest his soul, had passed away recently, but somewhat recently. Yeah, I mean, it's local. I was shocked, to be honest. I was shocked that you said yesterday on the show that you thought Jason had a better career than Travis. I was shocked by that. I think that's local. I'm like, Travis is like off the charts career. And Jason's great. I'm going to get killed for this. Jason's great. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's not, I doubt he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So prepare yourself. We get to talk. We have the luxury of talking to Clark and people like him and know the system a little bit better than most people. It's really difficult. So he's a lock Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a lock first ballot Hall of Famer.
Here's where I take my stance about Jason as compared to Travis. Now, Travis is still ringing up points, so I might change my opinion at some time depending on how things go for Travis. Let's say he plays 2 more years. I would that would be my guess right now. I know he's going to play next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he plays another year. The old Jody McDonald standard of if it can't be 2, which way would you go? Up to 3 or back to 1? I'd go up to 3. I think he's got a lot of football left in him. I don't think he's younger than Jason, so they'd probably be stepping away at about the same time if he plays 3 more years. Now, if he has 3 off the charts great years, yeah, he's going to go by Jason. But as of now, right now, if his brother were to retire, I think Jason would get in first in the Hall of Fame. I think he'd get the nod at center before Travis would at tight end.
Oh, I think Travis is first ballot, slam dunk first ballot.
Really?
Slam dunk.
I could give you those
I
same numbers about tight ends.
Yeah, but I think Julius Erving slam dunk level, not even the typical slam dunk. I mean, he's got so many records already. Just broke Jerry Rice's records. Jerry Rice, we're talking about in the postseason, his records. I don't know how many, Pro Bowls he's got. Certainly he's near 10. Yeah, I think Travis is slam dunk. Now, when did Tony Gonzalez get in? I don't pay as much attention, to be honest.
And Tony was first ballot, and that's rare. Kind of like centers getting in on the first ballot, so it's tight ends on the first ballot. He was rare. Other guys like Antonio Gates has got better numbers than Travis, and he's.
I was a little surprised he didn't get in, Antonio. I agree he should have gotten in, and that's. But he obviously will get in. But yeah, it's difficult. But I think because of, and remember, it shouldn't matter, but it does. It shouldn't matter, but it does. Super Bowls matter. And Antonio and Travis already has 3. Yeah, he's getting in first. I'm very comfortable with that one. I'm very comfortable.
And the one thing that Clark said last night that both surprised me and disappointed me. He did mention that, and Jason will stay front of mind because he'll be a media guy.
Yeah.
He might be a star media guy. Yeah. And we don't know what there's a good chance that his brother could be a roadie when his football career is over.
No, his brother, again, that's local bias. His brother was the one hosting Saturday Night Live.
That's just bad casting by Lorne Michaels.
Possibly.
I can sit in judgment of Lorne Michaels.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think Jason has a better personality. But if you're forcing me to put on the objective reporter hat, Travis is the bigger star of the brothers. And again, that's part of it. Lorne ain't calling Jason. He's calling Travis.
But what would have happened if the Eagles had won that game? Who do you think they would have called? Do you think that Butker field goal flipped the potential choice?
Possibly Harrison Butker, yeah.
Yes, Harrison Butker making that field goal got the younger brother the starring role and cameo for the older brother. It could have been the other way around.
I think it's ironic because Jason, I think, was runner-up for People Magazine's Sexiest Man of the Year last year. But Jason also called Travis devastatingly handsome when he was crossing his father, Taylor Swift's father, who is an Eagles fan, immediately started wearing Chiefs gear. And Jason was giving him the, back and forth on that. He said, just because a devastatingly handsome man is wooing your daughter, don't ruin your entire life.
Don't spell out your Eagle fandom.
Yes.
Mr. Swift.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I say that with a staunch record of heterosexuality. My wife's over there. Yeah, he's a good looking dude, Travis. He's a bigger star.
In most ways, yes, but maybe not, because again, we're having this conversation today. We don't know what's going to happen for the next 7. Jason could become a bigger star than Tony Romo in NFL circles. And yeah, maybe Travis learns to sing and he's doing duets. Yeah. And there could be.
Well, they did. They already did their Christmas song together. Jason and Travis. They did.
Oh, I'm talking about Jason and Taylor, Travis and Taylor. So and there could be some blowback from that. I sing the praises of the 50 individuals who are the Hall of Fame selectors right now, but you never know. Maybe some of them just.
And by the way, another part of it is Travis is a skill position player, and that's part of it too. Jason might be the most famous offensive lineman. I heard who said it. Kyle Brandt said he might be the most famous offensive lineman in history. It's recency bias, but you can make a strong argument because of all his, the podcasts and all that stuff. Skill position guys just got more cash. They always got more cash.
Nah, they do, but tight ends aren't wide receivers either. Yeah, I can spin this for you all day long. But we don't want to do that any longer because I see with my private eye Mike Gill waiting to jump in. He is down in his lavish digs on the Jersey Shore. Mr. Sports Bash himself is up next. Mike Gill joins us on Birds 365.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Mac and Mac guys are joined, as we are almost every Wednesday, by the power from the shore. That would be Mike Gill, who's going alma mater on us today. How many of those you got? West Virginia T-shirts, sweaters, hoodies, ties?
Too many. My girlfriend wants to kill me. I got a whole drawer dedicated to just West Virginia.
I'm with you. Hey, Mike, I'm more impressed you showed your setup. You put that on X about to join the show. You got the ring lights. You got the nice setup. That camera, man, that looks like 22nd century camera. I mean, it looks like an alien out there. That's impressive.
And of course, it froze up as soon as you said.
Well, last week Jody told me I looked dark, so I went upstairs. My girlfriend has this ring light that she uses for her stuff, so I grabbed it and I said I don't want to look dark again. So I got that's just a light. The camera's just my laptop.
Yeah.
Now,
what is that bit? What is that? Oh, that's the microphone.
That's my microphone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Snowball.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. Time out, Homestead. Her stuff. Are you talking about putting on makeup? Does she do online stuff as well? What are you talking about? The girlfriend stuff?
No, she has a little craft business where she makes like beach decor for people's beach houses down the shore. And I guess she needs the extra light upstairs when she's doing like the epoxy and stuff.
Oh, okay. So my crafts with Mike Gill is what we're doing today.
We're working on it. Yeah, I don't want to keep working, so she keeps making this stuff. I can retire.
All right. Jason Kelce, Hall of Famer, lock or no?
I guess so. I mean, obviously, he said it himself. The first from 11 to 16, no. 17 to 24, yes. Is that a long enough period of time? 17 to 24, is that a long enough resume to say first ballot, no doubt a ballot Hall of Famer? Now, I heard you guys talking about, his popularity. If he's in the media, I think that will certainly keep him at people's top of mind. Remember, 5 years from now, if you're a guy who was just good from 2017 to 2024, and then 5 years go by, people might forget about you. But I don't know that they're going to forget him if he's doing the media. No. For me, though,
especially when he's already jumping through flaming tables, that as well.
My question for his future is, what is the media job? I keep hearing that he's a natural, and I don't see Jason Kelce on Sunday NFL Countdown breaking down the center, pulling. Like, he's a fun guy. I see him maybe touring different NFL tailgate parties, but does he want to put a suit on every Sunday and break down plays? I don't see him being a game analyst. Like, he's not going to be a Tony Romo or a Chris Collinsworth. That's not what I see.
Why not? I could see him do that. You don't think he'd be a good game analyst? The understanding he has of the game?
I don't say he wouldn't. I'm just saying I don't see that that's what he would want to do. Like, he's a fun guy. He takes his shirt off. He's chugging beers, and now he's stuffed in a booth with a suit on, talking 14-second spurts of what just happened on a play. I just don't see that being his personality. I keep hearing all the media stuff, and I don't doubt it. I just say, can I see him stuffed on a set with Bill Cowher and Nate Burleson on a Sunday? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of that's not a bad idea, Mike. You might want to put the resume in to be a producer. Go around the different tailgates with Jason Kelce.
Yeah. Well, first of all, nobody's ever done the way Mike just described it. And I'll harken back to they tried to find a role for a guy years ago, and it just and they stuck with it for years. Tony Saragusa down on the field was an abject failure.
Yeah,
that was awful. And man, did they try over and over. They kept just coming back with him and back with him. And I felt bad for he was on Moose Johnson's broadcast squad that Moose had to try and incorporate him into just terrible. Good luck reinventing the wheel. I'm telling you, I think he's going to be a game analyst.
Yeah, I agree. Tony Saragusa. And they kept it. And you know who else they did that with? Booger. With the
Booger mobile.
Yeah,
how big a failure was that?
Yeah.
You try and get too cute, Mike, you end up ruining somebody's career.
That's what I'm saying. Like, can you do where he, travels with Kelce? Or the next thing would be when his brother retires that they do an Amazon Prime cast and it's him and his brother doing the Manning thing. I could see that where they're in a bar or they're in the living room and him and his brother are yucking it up with Todd Harrimans and Brent Selleck and whoever else owned that failed bar. And they're all just sitting there and, shooting a breeze on a Thursday night football game. That I can see, because I think what makes Jason is his personality. Him being in a booth for 8-second quips of, a pitch to the left. All right, am I getting my bang for my buck? If I'm saying I got this high profile guy, I don't see him being a part of a studio show. I could see doing the tailgate tour. Hey, Jason's in Buffalo this week. And, he gets a 3 to 5 minute, produced segment where he's doing shots and jumping off of tables. Now, how long is that sustainable for? I don't know. Is that what he wanted to be known for? Or does he want to, like, for me, the Thursday night Amazon is the place, because you go Thursday night, you're home on the weekend. You don't have to worry about being away from your family on the weekends, and you do the thing quickly and you're done. So Amazon,
he already has the reputation. He already has the relationship. He got the tryout with Amazon during the bye week.
Well, I don't know. Did you see the odds were sent out yesterday of where he's going to go next?
Yes,
and all the different.
I have them right here for you and John.
Yeah, Amazon was number 1.
2.5 plus 250. YouTube plus 500. ABC, I think he could do Disney. 600. Disney itself 800. Fubo TV at the Sling TV. You're banking on 14-1 for Sling TV. Where's your money going, Mike Gill?
I think Amazon Prime is the spot. Doing something with that
taking the chalk. All right, good on you.
Yeah, Thursday night game. They got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's a bit of a goofball. That set's a little lighter, a little less stuffy than the Fox and CBS one.
Yeah, they already got Whitworth though as the offensive lineman, wearing the hoodie with the suits.
Right, but I don't think Kelce's so much on the set. Maybe he's in the crowd or he's in the parking lot. He's at the tailgate party. And he's, hey,
by the way, I'm starting to get with the fans. I'm like, let's talk about football. Let's talk about Jason Kelce and replacing Jason Kelce. But before we do that, Mike, I need to settle the argument. And I'm surprised this is an argument. Well, not that we're arguing. We weren't arguing about it, but Jody, and I was surprised when Jody said it yesterday. He's like, he's got Jason ahead of Travis. I'm sorry. Travis is ahead of Jason. Settle that argument. Better career.
No, here's the way. When I said it, let me just since John brought it up, let me set the parameters. What I said yesterday was, I think Jason Kelce will get into the Hall of Fame quicker than Travis Kelce will get into the Hall of Fame,
possible.
And not because he's 2 years ahead of him, but I mean, as per when they become available, what's the first year they get in? That's what I would use to judge it. You need
I see
something to
what you're
judge
saying.
it by.
Yeah, I'm
And
still in my camp. I'm like Travis, no brainer, first ballot. Jason, I think is going to have to wait.
I would have to agree that Travis is going to get in, I would say, almost immediately. I looked at it yesterday, actually. He's 34 years old because I'm wondering when they could pair up to do something. How much longer is Travis going to play? There has been a little bit of murmurs. I would imagine he plays at least 1, maybe 2 more years. But I would think if he retired today, he's already a first ballot. I mean, he's probably – man, if you're looking at it, it was funny. When I was at the Super Bowl, we were talking to Kellen Winslow, and I said, I'm sitting here, and I said, this guy at one point is the greatest tight end that ever played the game. And I said, at one point, because I turned around, and behind me was Rob Gronkowski. And I said, and then this guy came in, and I said, Tony Gonzalez, Kelce, not too many others are in that conversation, but I think Kelce's name firmly is in.
By the way, because I was just looking it up, the 2010 All-Decade team, Jason's not on it. He wasn't first or second team, not even second team. So there were 4 centers ahead of Jason at that point. Now, as you mentioned, Mike, from his rookie year to 2016, not a Hall of Famer, 2017 forward Hall of Famer. So, he's in that category. Didn't do it long enough in the 2010s, didn't play long enough in the 2020s. But Travis was on the all-decade team, and he was first team all-decade. It was Gronk and Travis, and it was Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates on the second team. Travis was in the first team in the 2010s. Yeah,
Jason's interesting because, I'm in the camp of Kurt Warner had too many years for me. I know he had 3.
Yeah, I was with you. I don't think great guy, Kurt Warner. I don't think.
Oh yeah, this isn't I
don't think.
And I get his story's great, but Kurt's in the media, and he had these this Disney movie written about him. I think that helped. Terrell Davis is another guy I don't think played enough years, but the 5 years that he played were definitively Hall of Fame years. Jason Kelce played 13 years, 6 of which were probably not definitively not Hall of Fame. He wasn't even a Pro Bowl level player. He was a very good player. It was the kind of thing of, hey, you got a 6th-round pick who turned into a starter. That's a win. It went from that to now we're talking about possibly the best center of all time. I think it's a little, not recency bias, but home bias. That doesn't mean that he didn't have a tremendous career and should be discussed for the Hall of Fame. In fact, I had Sal Powell on yesterday, and he said they are going to strongly push to have Jason, him and Paul Domowitch, who represent the Philly area, to have him, be a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he's not. Those 7 years matter, but he did have 6 years where you were saying that's not a Hall of Fame player. So is that a Hall of Famer? I don't know.
And that's the one other thing that I factored into I think Jason might be able to get in quicker than Travis thing. He's got Gronk in front of him. What center is in front of Jason right now? Who's the center they're going to say when they're on the ballot at the same time go, ooh, which one are we going to take? I don't know that there's anybody even in that conversation. I think Gronk is got a better resume for Hall of Fame than Kelce does. And again, remember, Kelce can still add to it. He's not retired yet. Travis, that is. But those two could
Gronk,
be on the ballot.
well, the thing that's going to help Gronk, if it were the same year type of thing, I would agree with you. But Gronk's going to be already safely in when Travis comes up.
Gronk will be off the ballot because he'll be in.
Yeah.
He's been gone. This will be 2 years now that he's out of the game. So Kelce won't have to contend with Gronk at the same time. Neither will Kelce. But who else will they have to? That's become the problem for a lot of these guys. Although this year's class, I wouldn't say.
But that's what I mean. If I say the name again, it's very. I think it's very Philadelphia based. And by the way, I want to say this again because I'll get murdered. I believe Jason Kelce's going to the Hall of Fame. What we started this is I don't think he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Jody and I have talked to enough voters over the years. It's very difficult. I don't think he's going to be first ballot. A guy like I brought up, Marquise Pouncey, he means nothing in Philadelphia. Nothing. He was a hell of a player. And to those other guys, those other voters, they're going to look at Marquise Pouncey and say, is this a Hall of Fame center? And they're going to have serious discussions over it at some point. It's different. It's here. Jason Kelce's massive, especially right now. But, other voters, they don't have that local bias that every city has. It's not just Philadelphia. What is that quote? Everybody's got a linebacker when it comes to the Hall of Fame. Who said that to us, Jody? Everybody's got a linebacker that they think should be in the Hall of Fame. Here it's Seth Joyner. One of the Hall of Fame voters said that. And he was right. Tommy Noble in Atlanta.
Might have been Clark Judge who
might have been Clark. Yeah.
But here's the other thing that the one thing, if I were in the Hall of Fame committee, and I think they do an outstanding job in general. I can individual votes, things I disagree with, but just in general, I think they do an outstanding job. And listen to Clark and Damo and Gary Myers and guys who I've had on as a guest, and they do bring this up. The all-decade team, that can be skewed. If you just happen to start in 01 and you get your game together by 02 and you start on a Hall of Fame track, you got 8 years. But a guy who starts in 04 and it takes him 2 years together and gets to Hall of Fame in 06, well, now you only have X amount of years, but then you're going to drag over into the next decade. And you're going to have 10 great years. Yeah, but you only had 4 in one and 4 in the other. And I think that the amount of emphasis they put on all decade teams can be misleading. And I think Jason Kelce falls into that category.
I personally agree with you, but I'm also realistic, and you can look at the history of the all-decade. They value those things. So
I know they do, and I'm saying I disagree with that. I think that you need to. You look at a guy's career, whether it started in 05 and ended in 12. You shouldn't be held more accountable because yours have to overlap over 2 decades. You should not have to pay a price and a penalty for that. That's, to my estimation, that's just wrong.
Right, because Kelce, well, you could say he played in the decade, but the first half of it, he wasn't an all-decade level player. And from 17, 18, 19, he was an all-decade level player. But you're talking about if his career started in 17 and he didn't play 16 to 11, and they started thinking about him for all-decade 17, 18, 19, and then that. So in other words, you had a player who was probably better than you in that part of the decade, but he didn't play enough, so therefore he wasn't named to the all-decade team, and therefore he's not getting the adulation that he should get for being an all-decade player.
Right. You can comp any 2 players, and you put their careers side by side, and you just wipe out the year on the calendar it happened to happen. He had these 8 years, he had these 7 years, and you compare it to each other. Sometimes when voting for an all-decade team, you got to stay within the decade. I understand the definition and the concept. That's fine. But then when you use that to determine who had better careers, I think it can be very misleading.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Some guys get lost in it. As you mentioned, the layered part of it, you don't play enough in 1 decade, you lap the 2 decades. I agree. But the guys who are on it, you're usually not arguing with those guys because those guys are, those guys were really good. So guys can get lost, but I don't think it takes away from the guys who are on it. Because those guys, and that's why you see, if you go back to the 1970s all day, so many of them are in the Hall of Fame because they earned it. And they did earn it. Do some people get lost in the shuffle? Yeah, they certainly do. But let's talk about it. I tried to move it forward a little bit yesterday by talking about the cap ramifications of Jason Kelce's retirement. So the Eagles guys have $25.1 million to deal with still on the books for Jason Kelce. That means they're going to file the retirement papers June 1st. To split it over 2 seasons, it's going to be $8.6 million this year, $16.4 million in 2025. Kelce's scheduled cap number this season is $10.178 million. I know this is getting in the weeds, but for the people, the Eagles will gain $1.5 million of cap space, but they're not going to get that until June 2nd. So it's not going to mean all that much. And then the full bill of $16.4 million due in 2025. No
That's
more
gonna mean a
bookkeeping
lot.
tricks. No more bookkeeping tricks. You got to eat that. That's going to be against the cap. So those are the financial implications. The football implications are even bigger. And that's Cam Jurgens moving to center. And then who plays right guard? Do you trust Jeff Stoutland with Tyler Steen, Mike Gill, or do you go out and get a free agent? Do you bring back Sue Opeta and say, this is our safety net? How does Mike Gill handle that?
Well, yeah, I mean, Jurgens obviously moves over and plays the center spot, and now you have a void at right guard. They drafted Steen. Tyler Steen, a third-round pick. Does he have – I don't know. You've been around him way more than I can say I've been. Jason Kelce told a great story. He had a horrible 2016. One guy believed in him. Does he have the personality, Steen, to say, I need someone to believe in me because I am good enough? Does he work at it? Obviously, they liked him to draft him in the third round. So you would hope that he would be the successor in that spot. There's a couple of guys in free agency, but we just talked about, they're going to have some money to spend, but do they want to spend it at a position that they generally draft well at? So they could probably, I would imagine Steen would get the crack. You have, you mentioned the possibility of Opeta. He'd probably get cheap. Driscoll, is he still hanging around? Jack Driscoll?
Yeah, he'll be a free agent, but yeah, they could bring him back.
Right.
They need backups too. I mean, they need
look,
backups.
I think one of the big things with this offensive line through last year, now they got through the year without a lot of injury issues on that line, was you didn't have the depth on that offensive line that you had the year before. Luckily, you didn't have the injury problems either. So knowing that they draft well at that spot, I wouldn't think free agency would be a way that they would go. Although they've done it in the past. They have signed Brandon Brooks. They've done some money on the line. But I think in-house will be the way they'll try to replace the right guard spot. And, of course, they will draft, some depth in that spot. Depth and / competition. Remember, they have 2 second-round picks, a third, and I don't know what they got, 5 fifth-round picks. So
they got 8 total, Mike, which is one more than you're supposed to have because it's a 7-round draft. But you're right.
They have no 7th. They
don't have a 7th.
6 and what they have 4 5ths and a 6th, no 7th.
Right. Which John always tells me the Eagles don't value day 3 picks all that much. That they won't give up a day 2 pick.
No, that's me. That's me.
Right. That's you evaluating the Eagles. That's what I said. So how much stock can you put in these 5th-round picks? If you're going to put this major value on a day 2 pick, understandable, but a much lesser value on a day 3 pick, how do you go, yeah, but we got all these 5th-round picks. We'll just get plug and play guys. We'll be able to step in and either play, or if there's an injury, they can go in and play. Really? Then why do you not compare them to 2nd-round picks when you talk about trade value?
Well, I'm imagining Monday and Tuesday, and now the first 48 minutes of today, we spoke about a 6th-round pick. So I think the Eagles feel that they can get a player on that.
That's the outlier.
Jody, do they not have a left tackle that was drafted in the 7th round? This is a team that has found draft choices in the later rounds. I mean, they've gotten guys that have played all over the place. Yes, Lane Johnson's a 1st-round pick. Landon Dickerson's a 2nd-round pick. But generally, this team has done a pretty good job finding the Todd Harrimans of the world. We talked about Kelce, Mailata. Big V was a 4th-round pick a couple of years ago. You might laugh, but he got a big contract to play in this league in Detroit and was the starting left tackle for a Super Bowl team. They played players like Driscoll. This is a team that I think believes in Jeff Stoutland, in that we're not going to have to spend a pick in the 2nd round. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if they do, because generally they will go offense or defensive line. But usually we're talking about 1st round, where they want the highest, because they have gone Dillard, Lane Johnson we talked about. So they have taken guys high. But I think they also believe that at right guard, we can find a guy in the 5th round. We took a guy in the 3rd round last year. So I'm not saying plug and play, but just somebody that can add depth or competition to that spot this year. Because look, it sounds like we're all just writing Tyler Steen off. I don't know what they think about Tyler Steen. He didn't play all that much last year.
No, if we were doing one of those emails, you were talking about Jason Kelce, Amazon being the leader in the clubhouse. I would say if you're doing odds for starting right guard right now, I would say Tyler Steen's the leader in the clubhouse now. If I think the Eagles should learn from last season when they put all their eggs in the Nakobe Dean basket. It's great to have that mentality, and I get why you have it, but you need to have that better contingency plan. If it doesn't work, who's next? And maybe it's as simple as Sua. Maybe it's as simple as bringing him back. But it's worth discussing. Should they go out and get? I've argued John Runyon Jr. Eagles fans would love it to get. There's that a lot of
good, interesting players at that position in free agency. It's just what are they? Where they want to focus on spending this lump sum of money. Then all of a sudden they got $40+ million.
Well, better be on defense.
And
better be on defense.
That's the thought is they want to go try to fix that defensive side of the ball. Do we think we can get by with what we have on offense because we like our skill players? And look, most teams don't have 5 guys on the offensive line that they deem competent. Most offensive lines in this league are terrible. And it's like, as Eagles fans, we get so spoiled. It's almost like they have to have 5 Pro Bowl level players on the line. Most teams are hoping to get 1 Pro Bowl level player.
So hold on. Let me get this straight. They're going to put their resources dedicated to narrow focus on improving the defense from last year, which makes a ton of football sense. So the first thing we do is trade our best defensive player. How the hell does that work?
Well, if you come to a time where he wants more money and you don't want to pay that money, now you have a crossroad. The rubber meets the road somewhere there. If he's saying, I deserve more, and you're saying you probably do, but we're not the team to give it to you, we'll start to, I would imagine, we'll start to hear this week coming up what offers are out there for him, right? Yeah. This is when it will start ramping up. I think Adam Schefter said this morning, what was it, a 2nd round pick or something like that, or somewhere between a 3rd and a 5th?
Yeah, second. Yeah, I would think it would start with the 2nd round. If he
estimated the Eagles will be looking a 2nd rounder in return, or possibly a package with a 3rd and a 5th for Reddick.
Yeah, I would think they'd want a second. No. I would be hopeful of getting a 2nd and a day 3 pick, but I don't know if they can get that. But
so if you're getting a 2nd, that gives you 3 picks in the top. You would get 3 2nd rounders, so 4 picks in the top 60 if you traded him for a 2nd round pick in this draft. And if you got a 3rd and a 5th, you would be adding a fifth round pick and then a 2nd, 3rd round pick for Hassan Reddick. How's everybody feel about that?
Sound like a good deal to you? Not to me. You're subtracting.
Well, you're also subtracting. You're not paying a guy $25 million plus, maybe. That factors into it as well, and that's where the Eagles are. That's
I will say, guys, I will say the free agent market certainly has added some intriguing names to it in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, I'm thankful that now finally the franchise tag deadline passed yesterday, so we can stop talking about Josh Allen, Brian Burns, Antoine Winfield. I told you, stop talking about Antoine Winfield. It's not realistic. So I'm glad that part of it's over, so we don't have to have those discussions anymore.
No, but you're going to get the Jamal Adams, the Diggs, the Kimmy. You're going to get and look, Jamal Adams profiles as a Roseman guy, right? He's been hurt a lot. He was a 1st round pick. He's been injured.
He can't cover us, man.
Right. That's the problem. Yeah. Not in Vic Fangio's defense. Jamal Adams is a player, but not
Jamal Adams would be a great 1980 safety. I mean, a great one, maybe a Hall of Fame one. In today's world, he's useless. He's useless.
I'm just talking about the injury issues he had, the high-profile player. You bring him in on the 1-year deal, everybody gets excited, and you're like, this guy can't play. But Diggs is another guy who's been hurt a lot as well.
He's a big Slay guy, too. They're best friends.
There you go.
So that That'll come into play. Now, a name, our buddy, I have to bring this up. Last one for you from me, Mike. At Mike Gill Show. Make sure you follow Mike on X. Listen to him, 97.3 The Sports Bash, every afternoon, 2 to 6. Our buddy Pat Leonard in New York, the New York Daily News.
I saw this.
Saquon Barkley, we know, filled up. Now, Pat did a story, and he came up with 6 suitors, potential suitors, who have the resources, 1, need, 2, and interest, 3, to possibly sign Saquon Barkley. The Eagles are one of those 6 teams. They certainly have the resources. They certainly have the need.
Yeah.
If they don't bring back DeAndre Swift, do they really have the interest? People keep talking about Saquon Barkley.
You mentioned it, and anytime one of the national guys says something like Adam Schefter, who said, let me float this out there. How would Saquon look in Dallas? How would Saquon look in Philadelphia? I could see an NFC East team exploring that to see if they can make something happen with Saquon. So, and then you're right. Pat Leonard, who I saw the article yesterday or the day before in the Post or the Daily News, Saquon Barkley's name, all of a sudden. I can't imagine a world where they're going to spend that money on a running back. Whether they can fit him in financially or not. We talked about it last week. If DeAndre Swift wanted to come back and the Eagles said, name me your best price, and he said, 3.5, I'll come back. I'm not even sure they jump at that. Like, they might say 3.5 is too much for that position. Thank you, DeAndre. So I can't imagine them going to the number that Saquon Barkley thinks he should get. And that's what I've been saying. Monday, I can't wait to see what this running back market looks like. I am fascinated by this because these are legitimately really good players. I mean, Derrick Henry, I know some people might perceive that he might be on the downswing, but man, his play didn't display that, last year. He still looks like a guy who can. Now, those guys drop off real quick. Josh Jacobs, he's a very good player. Saquon, very good player. What is going to happen with these guys?
Right. That's the one thing the Pat Leonards of the world are leaving out. And the desire to spend the money for him.
Yes.
Having the availability of it is nice.
Right.
Making the dedicated. I go back to Hassan Reddick. I think the Eagles like Hassan Reddick. I think the Eagles want to keep Hassan Reddick. I can't see why the new defense coordinator wouldn't want Hassan Reddick. But if he's $25 million per year and somebody else sets that market, the Eagles might just back off.
Yep.
I'd pay him the 25. That's me. But if we're tracking the Eagles and their track record of not setting the market and going to the highest dollar value of anybody at a position, I don't think they're going to do it. And I think they'll have a hard time replacing what Hassan Reddick has given them the last 2 years. Good luck with that.
I agree. I agree with everything you said. I think they like Hassan. I think they like to bring him back. I don't think they want to pay that money and can see an out. And it's like, hey, we didn't want to pay that money on a guy who's hitting this age. And I'm not going to say that publicly. I'm sure, hey, he's 30 years old and we're concerned. I don't think that's the way they would spin it. But I think that's probably the way that they're thinking about it. No question.
Yeah.
Look, they watched a team last year all of a sudden on the defensive side of the ball look very slow and old right before your very eyes.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yep. Speed. They need more speed on defense.
They were slow, but ability to tackle might be a good trait you'd look for in replacement guys this year. That'd be something I'd try and break down on tape and find.
Here, let me ask you guys this question. Wednesday, when I am back, will the Eagles fans have been excited about the first tampering days?
In a word, nope.
Ooh.
I think they might make one somewhat splashy move on defense. They need so much.
What position would that be, John McMullen?
Most likely corner.
They have 2 seconds. Do they pony up one for Snead?
No. Here's the thing with Snead. I mean, why bring him in? If you're going to play the scheme you're going to play, why are you bringing a fresh corner and paying him $19 million? Right. And I said this to Jody. When you bring somebody in with that salary, and you're going to have to give up significant compensation to get him in a tag and trade. The expectations are he's going to be what he was in Kansas City. Well, you're not going to play him like Steve Spagnuolo played him. So he's going to end up being like Nnamdi Asomugha. I think the Eagles are too smart now to make that kind of mistake. They know.
So if we're Wednesday and it's the first of fifth, they'll already have some reports of who's going where. You have a position that they're targeting as their big splash.
Yeah, I think it's going to be defense, and I think it's going to be cornerback. But and when I said somewhat splashy because I don't think it's going to be again. Well, Jalen Johnson got tagged, so we don't have to worry about that nonsense anymore. L'Jarius Sneed, I don't think they're interested in. But you know, there's somebody, whether it's the second level type signing, I think that might be, and that's why I say somewhat splashy. Not top of the market, but somewhat splashy.
Interesting names, though. Definitely.
Yeah, I think Eagle Nation will yawn if the Eagles are linked to a middle of the road cornerback or safety. I don't think they'll be like Howie season, pumping their fist because Howie is somehow outsmarted everyone in the National Football League. I just don't see it.
What about if CJ comes back? What about if CJ comes back?
Who?
CJ Gardner Johnson. What if you know, safety, slot corner, whatever, defensive back. He's not going to make a lot of money coming off last season. He didn't get a lot of money when he was playing well. Now he's coming off an injury plagued season. That would excite Eagles fans.
I think it would be
results.
It would excite people, but not at the level that I'm kind of insinuating, I think.
Right. And I think part of bringing Johnson back be mixed results. I think there are some people that were absolutely positively ready to move on from CJ Gardner Johnson. Now, they didn't do a good job replacing him, which will stem that a little bit, that we're like good riddance to bad rubbish. CJ's a pain in the rear end. He's a tough guy to coach. So that might mitigate that some, but I think there'll be people who say, no, we don't want to revisit that. He wasn't a good fit in this locker room.
What about, I know we got to go, Mike. What about linebacker? If they go linebacker, which they never do, and it's not going to be Patrick Queen, somebody's going to demand a lot of money. But if you go to get the kid from Tennessee, they hired the linebackers coach from Tennessee. So there's some thought process. Maybe they could go in that direction. Or Josie Jewell, who has a history with what about Andrew Van Ginkel? How about that? Is that somewhat splashy?
I'd give that excitement level enough. I'd say that's pretty good excitement. But right off the bat, you don't think there are going to be other teams that are out there pursuing them? Do you think the Eagles are going to make Andrew Van Ginkel their big off-season splash?
The interesting part about this is Van Ginkel, I think, is a target only if you don't bring back Reddick, right?
Yeah, probably. Aziz Al-Shair, I couldn't remember his name. He's a pretty good linebacker. I don't know if people know.
Nice player, but Mike's right. You think they're going to have Hassan Reddick traded to another team before free agency starts? I don't.
It's possible, man. Stuff happens quickly because especially when you budget big money you got to do that early. It's not going to like you're going to have 25 million laying around late in the process. So if somebody's going to make a move for Hassan Reddick, they're going to do it pretty early.
Jordan Brooks would be another guy that might be a fit from Seattle. Wouldn't be all that exciting to people, but just another kind of like mid-level linebacker that they can probably get at a cheap price.
What about, I'll give you a guy because Eagles fans think this guy's great, even though he's played poorly year after year after year. But he was a former top 5 pick. He played great in the playoffs one year. Devin White. And you could probably get him for 1 year, maybe $7-8 million. Would that move the needle?
Yeah,
I think people would though be like, hey, they finally went out and got a linebacker. But you're right, John. It's a linebacker who is notorious, if you talk to Tampa people, for just constantly being out of place and just, it was almost too athletic for his own good.
By the way, if you see Devin White, be fearful, Eagles fans. If you see the Eagles sign Devin White, be fearful because he has not played well.
No. He's the Eli Manning of linebackers. Had that one great run during the Super Bowl, helped win a championship. But you look at the rest of the area and go, whoa, what's special about this? Absolutely nothing. Mikey Gill, thank you very much. Go give your girlfriend back her lights so she can do whatever arts and crafts she needs to get done. We appreciate your borrowing it for the half an hour with us here today.
And I like the snowball microphone. I like it. Look at that thing. Look at that. Looks like an alien.
Too cool for school, Mr. West Virginia.
Kind of old, actually. I got it a couple of years ago.
Mike Gill, thank you very much. We'll get Mike back next Wednesday. Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald, we'll keep the energy up. Hunter Brody is going to join us coming up in just about 15 minutes from now, so keep it here. Oh, and let me tell you guys about a great opportunity. Here's a chance to save some big bucks, guys. Birds fans, how would you like to save 40% on your car insurance right now from one of JAKIB Sports' great partners? Here's how you do it. Call one of the two managing general partners, Jim or Fran, and tell them you're a friend of both JAKIB Sports and Birds 365.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Delval Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.
McMullen and McDonald here with you on Birds 365. Thank Mike Gill for jumping in. And we look forward to hearing from Hunter Brody from WIP and Broads Media. He's going to join us about 10 minutes from now. All right, Johnny Mac, want to follow up on the Hassan Reddick stuff, because as we mentioned while talking to Mike yesterday, was the tag deadline in the National Football League. All tags needed to be applied to players by, I think it was noon yesterday. And 9 players were given a tag, 8 of which were given the same exact tag. And that's the non-exclusive franchise tag. And there was a sea change last year when the Baltimore Ravens threw the non-exclusive tag. Now, the exclusive tag means that you got to pay a player the average of the top 5 salaries or 120% of what they had made the year before, whichever is greater. But no other team could talk to the player, that he was the property of the team that put the franchise tag on him. A non-exclusive one means that all other teams can still bid for the guy, but if you sign him and the team that put the tag on him says, all right, he's yours, we'll pass, you have to give up 2 first-round draft picks. That's a pretty substantial payment that you'd have to make for the guy's services. 2 guys were tagged who could have been potential replacement for Hassan Reddick. If the Eagles are going to trade Hassan Reddick, the Eagles could have signed either Burns and or Josh Allen had they not been tagged and being just complete and free agents. But, oh, by the way, what do you think a guy like Brian Burns would have gotten if he'd gotten to free agency? What do you think his average annual value would have been, Johnny Mac?
At least 25.
Yeah. And Josh Allen, same or more?
Same.
Both. So you don't want to pay Hassan Reddick $25 million per, but you would pay. Now, both of them are a couple of years younger, but neither one of them has been as productive as Hassan Reddick. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I don't know that the Eagles would have gotten either of those 2 guys. So you
I don't think they would have been involved had those players gotten to the open market. And I'm glad, as I said, that we no longer have to discuss that, because they were never getting to the open market and everybody knew it. So, there were certain Eagles fans who I saw got excited. Oh, we can get blah, blah, blah. They were never going to be available, even more so because of the position Winfield, never going to be available. So I'm glad we finally got that out of the way. We can stop talking about those particular players.
Yeah, but they can still land one of those 2 players. Now, I think it's highly unlikely, but if they just love Brian, but they think Brian Burns is the best defensive player in the National Football League, they can get him. They can pay him.
Yeah, well, I mean,
million.
Technically they can. Literally, they can get him. You're correct. But figuratively, in all reality, no. That's why the people, and you mentioned, there hasn't really been a sea change. Actually, our buddy Brad Spielberger talked about this. There hasn't been a sea change as far as the tags go. The exclusive tag that you mentioned is generally only used for quarterbacks. Occasionally, for positional players. I mean, in most cases, and if you look at the tag guys yesterday, Josh Allen, Brian Burns, Jalen Johnson, Justin Madubuike, who had a tremendous year, Michael Pittman, Antoine Winfield Jr. were the guys who got tagged yesterday.
Which, by the way, you think Pittman's that good?
No, I don't.
Neither do I. Is it just the Colts have a dearth of wide receivers and figured, well, we'll over. I'm talking about with Hassan Reddick. If Hassan Reddick gets to $25 million per, would I think it's an overpay? Slight, not a lot. Some people, massive overpay. I don't believe that. Slight overpay. Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to go, even though we know ahead of time coming in, our model, our way of evaluating, it's a slight overpay. You extend yourself a little bit when you have extenuating circumstances. And I got to believe that's the way the Colts are looking at Pittman, because I think he's a real.
But they obviously like him as a player. I forget what the number is for wide. I think it's 21 somewhere, and that might be it. I'm not positive what the number is for receivers. I wouldn't have went there.
If he's on the Eagles, he's guaranteed their number 3, right? You're not rating him with either AJ or Devontae.
No, I would not say he's as good. Yeah, and I wouldn't do it. I would not have done it. If you look at all of the players yesterday, he's the one I wouldn't have franchised.
Both. That's the same way I looked at the list.
Everybody else I would have franchised. You could argue Johnson because I don't know if he wants to be there, but that from a player perspective, he had a hell of a year.
It's a different story, right? Here was my point about the non-exclusive tag, and I do believe I used the word sea change, and I do believe that. You go back a couple of years, maybe not the last 2 or 3, and the biggest one last year was Lamar Jackson.
Well, yeah, quarterback.
They used the non-exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson. Like you just said, always, if you're talking about a quarterback, you got to put the exclusive tag on him. Nope, Ravens didn't. They said, cut out, and see what
and you remember at the time that created a bit of a splash, and there was a lot of talk just Lamar and not having his agents and, not having an agent doing things in such a weird way. There was a lot of talk about him moving on, and that was part of it because they didn't put the exclusive tag on it, which is rare when you have a quarterback. Usually you do that and you're in that position. But that's what Brad was saying. The other positions, no, it's usually that way because nobody's giving up 2 first-round picks for any of these players. They could if they want, and there's every once in a while there might be somebody, but the vast majority of the time, nobody's even thinking about giving up, especially now because the sea change. Now, the younger GMs, they value those first round picks like, they're gold over proven players. There's no way they're giving up 2 for even proven players. Like I love Winfield. What are the odds you can take your next 2 first round picks and get one player, the capability of him? The odds are very against it. And most of these players, they don't care. They're not giving up first round picks. They're not giving them up. So, as a GM, when you tag these positional players, they're yours. And that's part of the reason the NFLPA gets a lot of criticism, because the NFL is the only sport where the top free agents are not getting to the market. They're not getting to the market because of this tag. And they're not getting legitimate free agency. And that's the case with Josh Allen and Brian Burns and Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jalen Johnson. They're not free agents. They might say it, but they're not really. They're not free to go wherever they want. And, the NFLPA hasn't fought hard enough for that, in my estimation, to get rid of this thing. But now they're going to get paid a whole lot of money, so it's tough to feel bad from that standpoint. But in a case where you have a player who might not be happy about being in a certain situation, tough. You're not going anywhere.
Just for those who don't know or have forgotten, the upside for the player is you are getting the average of the top 5 players at your position. So it's not like you're looking to start a GoFundMe page. They're going to be highly paid, but it's 1 year. Players always want to do the long-term contract with the major signing bonus, which increases the guaranteed money over a period of time, but a larger guaranteed money figure is what a lot of the players are looking for. But when you do get tagged and you accept the tag, that large sum immediately becomes guaranteed, which is good because if you go out and get hit by a bus, you're still going to get paid. Whereas if you are a free agent and sign and the money isn't guaranteed, you could lose out. All right. We hope that Hunter Brody doesn't get hit by a bus. Oh, no, he didn't. He's right there. All right. No bus hitting by Hunter Brody. Broads from WIP and Broads Media up next here on Birds 365.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
You got your Mac guys here on Birds 365, and we got a Philly Red, Hunter Brody, to join us here on Birds 365, getting all geeked up for the start of baseball season. But we're here to talk football today, Hunter, and I'm going to start you off with one of my favorite things.
Oh, I like that coffee cup. Sorry, I had to interrupt.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we just went to the we did a little Bahamas trip on a cruise this past summer.
Nice.
Yeah, it was solid.
Was this before or after the big home delivery?
So we scheduled it prior. So we had the drink packages ready to go. We were going to get after it, have some fun. Then she got pregnant, and the whole trip became a baby mood. It changed big time.
So you're drinking coffee rather than tequila.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right, though. It's okay.
You live to tell about it. I'm starting with a hypothetical, which has this much chance of happening, but I think it's a fun question, so I'm going to run it by you. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Marcus Mariota isn't back as the Eagles back.
Oh, say it isn't so.
Yeah.
Nice guy. I like Marcus a lot.
And I'm not sure the Eagles are confident enough to just go, Tanner McKee looked pretty good in preseason last year. We'll just have him as the backup to Jalen. So they're probably going to do something with the backup quarterback position this offseason. How about if I give you a guy who you can get for the veterans minimum, nothing more, very cap-friendly deal?
Don't do it.
And the Eagles, who tried to trade and investigated trading for him a couple of years ago, Russell Wilson says, I'd like to come in and be Jalen's backup. I've always been a Philly guy. Andy Reid loves to tell a story on how badly they wanted me and had to settle for Nick Foles. I got to set the record. I got to go to Philadelphia. What do you say, Hunter? Veteran minimum, that's all you got to pay.
Listen,
how much they pay? John McMullen, what they pay Mariota last year? $5 million?
$5 million.
$5 million for Marcus Mariota, what he delivered. You don't even have to get close to $5 million.
I would say this. Go ahead, Hunter.
No, I'm just going to say, look, I mean, they drafted Jalen Hurts when they just signed Carson Wentz. I'd be an idiot to say that Howie Roseman doesn't really value the backup quarterback more than any other general manager in all of football. So what the hell? I'm sure he's checking in. That screams Howie Roseman, doesn't it? It screams Howie Roseman.
Have you guys ever read one thing about Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson ain't being anybody's backup.
Well, hold on a second. What if there's a nice little office in the NovaCare complex that's got Russell? So now he's a backup quarterback with his own office, and if you want to hang out with him, you got to go through his secretary as the backup.
Well, first of all, there's enough dumb teams to make him a starter. So he's going to be a starter somewhere next season. So he's not going to have to worry about that. I get what Jody's saying from a financial perspective, because
financial perspective and a football perspective.
I mean, honestly, all jokes aside, though,
who do you think is going to be the better player going into 2025? Russell Wilson or the person who the Eagles are going to end up with their backup quarterback?
Right.
Who's the better player, Johnny Mac?
Yeah.
You read my mind, yeah.
But yeah, he is the better player. But I mean, he's going to be miserable. He's not going to accept it. It's a
perfect fit
from a football perspective. I'm giving you the football perspective.
He's well known for being more of a diva than his wife.
That's why I said not this much chance. You're right. Yeah. You're 100% right. But the reason is because Russell's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I hypothetically said Russell wants to come here. No, he's not going to want to come here. But if he fell down and hit his head and somehow this became his main directive in life, I'm just saying, I'd sign the guy.
As you guys know, Jeffrey Lurie has only been involved with 3 draft picks in his long quarter-century history of owning the Philadelphia Eagles. Russell Wilson, he badly wanted Russell Wilson, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata. He's 3 for 3. He's only right. So we all said, after we got done laughing at Jeffrey, we all chuckled, why don't you get more involved? Because you're pretty good at this.
Right. When you got that kind of track record, those are the only ones you've ever jumped in, and you should be making every pick every year, Jeffrey.
Exactly. So anyway, but Russell
I think it's fun. I mean, look, you say it creates drama, this and that. That's perfect. I mean, that fits the mold.
Yeah, I would love it. I would love it from a selfish standpoint for all the stories. But yeah, I mean, and by the way, he's going to be a starter somewhere. And he, as bad as he was, and talk about, remember, Jody knows this, Hunter. And it used to be me and Andrew Brent. I raised my hands. I was during Carson Wentz. There's no way the Eagles are going to take on that dead money, which was like, what was it, Jody? That 30 million?
30 some odd, yeah.
30. That Denver's taking on like 85 million of whatever dead money to get rid of it.
Spread over 2 years, though.
Yeah. But still, unbelievable the way it's exploded. But they need a backup quarterback. It's not going to be Russell Wilson. Before you came on, Hunter, we're going to get to the Jason Kelce stuff, but I'm sick of it. So I got to start with, I said before you came on, if the Eagles make they're not going to make a big splash, but would fans be happy with a mini splash? And I was struggling to come up with a name. I've come up with a name now. Safety. Cameron Curl or Xavier McKinney. One of those two. And Cam Curl was on social media throwing up the peace sign to Washington, so he seems to be leaving. So let's say Cam Curl. Is that somewhat sexy to you? Does that move the needle when you're on WIP? Or is everybody going,
Probably going, It's probably one of those where you don't give as much respect as you probably should for what it could be, but it's not a disaster either. It falls into that middle ground. But yeah, it's probably not sexy enough. Now, I don't think the phone lines are going to light up saying Howie did it again. It's Howie Roseman's season with the ski mask like it's Cravon LeBlanc of 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? I don't think we're playing that card. So, but it wouldn't be a bad move.
What about Xavier McKinney then? Because he's got a bigger name. He's a little bit more known. What about him?
Look, this is what that move will be. It'll start out as, I don't know, all right. And then 2 days later, you start talking yourself. Well, when you dive deeper into the stats, you can find out that blah, 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 blah. And then you end up by day 4 thinking that this is a home run hit. Then you bring out the ski mask and it's Cravon LeBlanc. I know how the whole cycle goes here during the offseason, but you talk yourself more into that ladder for sure. I think so.
McKinney is, for me, the unquestioned better player. And
Yeah.
there should be more excitement for McKinney than for Curl. But I'll tell you what part of the McKinney narrative will be. Didn't we go get Bradbury from the Giants? And he came in here and was great, and then he fell off a cliff. Is that what we're getting out of Xavier McKinney? One really good year, and then we got to figure out how we get out from underneath his cap hit in year number 2. He'll be tied to Bradbury just because he's coming in from the Giants.
Probably. How old is he, though? How old's McKinney?
It's like 26.
Yeah, see, that 26 range, it hits different than, this is the whole thing when they were looking at safety and there's a 30. Who was it? Was it Eddie Jackson that was kind of getting sprinkled around there a little
30,
bit?
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
the 30s, the 31. I'm sick of that. I want to go get someone. If you don't draft them, then obviously it's tough to find, like mid-20s or so. But you got to find something like that where it's not just this guy's old. You can look at his career and say he was good 5 years ago and hope that he could get something out of it. I want someone who can play now that's more in the prime. That's 26.
He's going to be 26 this year, Hunter.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect. It's like
Cameron Curl's going to be 25, so he's in the same range.
That's the range. The CJ Gardner-Johnson vibe. I know that was a different situation and all, but that sort of vibe where you can, and that's a Howie Roseman style of move, right? What we saw with CJ Gardner-Johnson. Give me something like that. I'm sick of the old veterans, the old guys, the Bradburys, the breaking down 30 plus. It's time for the mid-20s and things of that nature. Hey, Howie said it best. We got to start playing the young kids.
Yeah, he did.
We got to start playing. But you know what?
And then Nick contradicted him. I'm trying to win the game.
There you go. One guy's trying to save his job. The other guy's trying to show his draft pick worth. If this isn't friction, I don't know what is. But hey, we're the assholes.
Right.
We're the assholes.
But here's where your desire might separate from the way the Eagles do business. Those guys, McKinney's going to get paid. There was talk that the Giants might even slap the franchise tag on McKinney. So McKinney's not coming in here for 6, 7, 8 million. He's going to get double digits.
No, yeah, he's 13, 14 million.
Yeah, but isn't it time to get pieces that
please tell
around?
Please tell me the safety the Eagles have paid $13-14 million to.
You know, but I'm sick of the Reed Blankenships. I'm sick of the Reed Blankenships and I like Sidney Brown, but are you winning with Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship as your safeties? Are you winning anything with that?
Especially with not Sidney coming off a torn ACL in week 18.
Right.
They would have paid Marcus Williams at the time. They went to about 11, which at the time would be like 13 now. So they're willing to get somebody if they believe in the player.
Can we get a CJ return?
Maybe. That's cheaper. Cheaper.
I'm okay with that. I don't care what he said on Twitch. I'm okay with it. He said we're obnoxious. We're not? Of course we are. All right, let's go. Go get some
that's
interceptions.
the thing. Does CJ want to come back here? CJ wasn't. He called the people obnoxious. He got his car stolen. The Eagles disrespected him. Does he want to come back here? Sometimes it's about the player, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to." They stole my Kia. A Kia. Why does CJ have a Kia? But anyway,
here's the problem with that. If he, and I don't think he thought it along this far and was actually playing, but it's just a reality now. He's going to make the Eagles overpay. That if he's worth, he got $8 million last year. He got hurt, but from the year before, he probably could hold the line at about $8 million. Are the Eagles going to pay 10 to bring him back? If somebody else is going to give him 8 and he says, well, I'll go to Philly, but it's going to cost you 10. Yeah, I got to buy a fleet of Kias to be able to have just in case they start stealing them again. So will Howie Roseman do that? Will he go, yeah, we're desperate. We got to get CJ Gardner.
No.
My answer, no, he's not going to do that. The Eagles don't overpay.
I'll tell you where CJ's going. Tennessee with Denard Wilson. That's my landing spot.
Nice.
CJ Gardner-Johnson. Yeah. I would he be an upgrade? I think the Eagles want a playmaker. Like he had that playmaking presence. They realized they missed that really, really badly last season. Is he a fit though here? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But that's kind of splashy. McKinney, Curl. Somewhat. And that's why I said not splashy. I said somewhat splashy. You're not even giving me somewhat, Hunter? Give me somewhat.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, for sure. It's not, you're not just scraping at the bottom of the garbage can here and you're just throwing, because I think he does that, not scrape, maybe that's a little rude because I do think Ringo could grow into something. But when you look at the way they handled corner, it felt like to me that they just grabbed, I don't know, 5 guys that people knew who were popular in college. The Ringo, the Jobes,
The
right?
Ricks. Eli Ricks,
right? You just throw these LSU, Alabama, all the Georgia, whatever, these guys, and then
how
one
many
guy
times
sticks.
did you hear, oh, Eli Ricks was the top recruit coming out of high school?
John, I saw an image that someone posted, and it was, quote, the future. And it was Ringo, Ricks, and Job playing in our secondary. And I said, you know what that was? Last year's defense. That was last year's defense. What are you doing? Like, I think Ringo could be fine. Like,
yeah, I like
blossom.
Ringo.
I do, but this would be, we need to go get NFL legitimate players. I don't want to do this slop. Here's a bunch of guys. Here's a name that you knew in Alabama. I want real National Football League players, safeties, guys in our secondary, and it's time to do that. So I don't know if Howie finds, like I mentioned before, a CJ Gardner-Johnson, or he does something like Snead and brings him in there, although I think he's starting to get up there a little bit more. But that moves the needle for me, obviously.
He'd be a needle move.
Oh, yeah, that's a big deal move for sure, even though I know I brought up the age earlier. But, yeah, I'm excited. Well, how old's Snead, though? He's not – is he 30 now?
No.
Okay, he's 27, 28?
He's 27-ish.
All right, so I'm just making sure that fits my timeline of age. That's all. Yeah. I didn't know if he was still 30 yet.
He's a press guy, man. You're playing Vic's defense. Why does everybody want Legere? He's 27, by the way.
27. All right, Here we go.
He's going to get it. So,
but if you can't work with Snead, what are we doing here?
I'm with you.
Right.
We've been through this with Namdi. They're best press cover corner in the NFL. They bring him in here, ask him to play a bunch of zone. He's out in the parking lot eating lunch by himself because everybody hates him.
That disappoints me, though, because if you're a great DC, and I think Vic Fangio is, even though we apply the scheme and what he does and the Vic Fangio scheme, it has a name for it. If you can't adapt to your personnel with a player as talented as Snead, that's annoying to me.
I agree.
It should be. And
I agree.
That's on Vic Fangio. He's got to be able to see the talent and make the talent work. And I'm not saying he needs to abandon his system, but he's got to be able to adjust his system. And the players got to know that coming in too. He's going to come in, and they might not be tailor made for him. So you got to up your game too if you're going to grab the big check. All right, this will not be a happy day for Eagle fans either over the next couple of days. Fletcher Cox says, thanks for the memories. I'm going to call it a career. I'm going to do it in how long do you think it would take Fletcher to say his goodbyes as compared to Jason Kelce, John? Less than 10 minutes, right? Fletcher.
Yeah. Well, Fletch can't stay behind the TV cameras that long because he'll sweat himself away. But yeah, he won't take 42 minutes to say goodbye. But Fletch was a hell of a player, man. Hell of a player. I would argue this. I'm getting people pissed off this morning, so why not? Better Eagle, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelce. I'm sorry, Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox on the football field. Fletcher Cox is one of the best players in Philadelphia Eagles franchise history.
But isn't Jason Kelce arguably the best center to ever live?
No.
Why not?
Because
Webster? We going Web?
You can go. If you want to go way back, you can go Jim Otto. You can go Dwight Stevenson. You can go Dermontti Dawson. I brought up to Jody. He didn't even make the 2010 All-Decade team.
Yeah, stop with that stupid All-Decade thing. I explained that earlier. It's just flat out dumb. It's almost as dumb as the fumble in the end zone.
Here's what's dumb.
Use it as a reference if you want, but I'm going to call it dumb.
Here's what's dumb. If you go to Pittsburgh this morning and say Jason Kelce is better than Marquise Pouncey as a center, they will laugh at you. They will laugh at you.
Yeah, what do they know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think so. Well, then I'll ask it to you this way: who do you think is going to get in the Hall of Fame first? Now, how many years has Pouncey been out? 2? So he's got a 2-year head start.
I gotta look him up
on Kelce. Oh, I'll take anything you want to wager that Jason Kelce gets into the Hall of Fame before Marquise Pouncey. I don't care what they say in Pittsburgh. You're trying to tell me Marquise Pouncey's better career than Jason Kelce? I don't think so. He may have made an all-decade team because his career just happened to line up between 0-0 and 0-9. I don't give a shit. He wasn't as good a football player as Jason Kelce. You're just wrong if you're going to say that, Johnny Mac, or any Yinzer from Pittsburgh who's going to make an argument that Pouncey is better than Kelce. Stop.
9 Pro Bowls. 9 Pro Bowls.
Okay.
Different era, though. Look what Jason Kelce's dealing with these athletes. I mean, this is just unbelievable discussion.
He played. He was drafted the first round in 2010. 9 Pro
There it
Bowls.
is. There it is. Thank you very much. That's why he made the all-decade team. Why? Because he was drafted in 10. So he got to be there for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's how you make an all-decade team. You just get lucky enough to have your career start
we're
with
talking about
four
punters getting in the. You're talking about the players that get missed out on, which is a legitimate argument. The players that make the team, yeah, he got drafted. He got drafted in 2010. He made the Pro Bowl in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. Every stinking year.
I put it out there before. You can use all decade. I think it's false. I'll use Hall of Fame. Do you think Marcus Pouncey will get in quicker than Jason Kelce?
I do not.
There you go.
But
well,
I think
here's what his all decade team thing means. Sorry, see ya. You're not as good a player as Jason Kelce.
I think, and I acknowledge I got to see Jason Kelce. Now, and this will be an interesting question we can bring on, and I'll bring Hunter because I want to ask you on the scale to 1 and 10. 1 being a blubbering mess. I guess 10 would be the blubbering mess. 1 being, Jason Kelce, nice job. How are you emotionally? And then the standpoint of first ballot. A lot of people talking about first ballot Hall of Famer. Is that just what we're talking about? Like the people in Pittsburgh, if you ask them that question, Jody, they would say Pouncey. I'm in Philadelphia. I got to see Jason Kelce. I say Kelce. Let's go
to an objective third party, the Hall of Fame selectors. Who do you think they're going to put in?
That's fine. Well, unfortunately, Hunter's not that yet. Hopefully, someday he'll get there. But I want to ask Clark. We'll get Clark on, or we'll get Damo on Friday, and because I think you are really dismissing how good Marquise Pouncey is. Really, really dismissing.
Could Marquise Pouncey make the Hall of Fame someday? Yeah. Yes. Do I think he'll make it as fast as Jason Kelce? No. Who's a better football player? The guy who makes it in faster. That's Jason Kelce. If that's disrespecting Marquise Pouncey, saying, guess what? You're not going to get in as quick as Kelce. Okay, yeah, I'm disrespecting Marquise Pouncey. But I'm saying I think you got an excellent chance to make the Hall of Fame. If that's disrespecting him, well, then toughen up, big guy. You got a little thin skin there. I'm sorry. I think Jason Kelce is a more legitimate Hall of Fame and all-time great than Marquise Pouncey.
Yeah.
You guys are great. You guys are just great.
Right.
I love it. I'll answer your emotional question.
And by the way, I want to get one more in. Sorry, I'm beating up on my poor partner, John McMullen, today.
Go ahead.
Hunter Brody, Fletcher Cox. Is he a Hall of Famer?
I don't think so.
John McMullen just told me he's a better player than Jason Kelce.
No.
He's a greater Eagle than Jason Kelce.
On the football field, yes. On the football field. Fletcher's a borderline.
How are they judging the Hall of Fame? You think
Fletcher
the voters for the Hall of Fame are judging personality?
Sometimes, yes. Fletcher is a borderline Hall of Fame player. If he had Jason Kelce's personality, he'd be a no doubt about it Hall of Fame player.
Man,
well, I do
you
find
talk about disrespecting. You're disrespecting the 50 guys who select the Hall of Fame.
I'll say it. The Damo
they would allow somebody's personality to overrule how good they actually were.
I'll
on the
not
football
only
field.
say it to Damo's face, and we can get Ledbetter on, we can get Clark on, we can get everybody on we talk to, we can get Ira on. I'll say it to their face, and they'll agree with me. They'll agree with me.
I don't know about that.
That stuff matters. That stuff matters.
Well, I do.
Go to the emotion, Hunter.
No, I'm just saying I do feel, though, to your point of the personality, though, because they're bigger than, I mean, they're not Kardashian level, but they're on the trajectory. You're dating Taylor Swift, you're this and that. Outside of the Hall of Fame discussion, just more on the Jason Kelce thing, I am fascinated to see how this goes post-football due to, I mean, this dude's bigger than life now. I mean, Travis probably more so because of who he's dating, but they are in a tier of whoa. I mean, on a national level of whoa. So I am just fascinated to see where this whole Jason Kelce, we're in the thick of it. So we see it differently than the entire world does that watch these two. I just watched a video from the Cleveland Cavaliers where they got, dude, I can't wait to see where this goes.
By the way, I asked Jody this, Hunter, over under, you're going to get a call that somebody complains that Kelce is getting an award from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's got a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey.
1,000%, because you know that he's willing to put that on too. He's not afraid. So maybe Kylie's sitting up there with an Eagles logo on while he's getting a Sixers jersey, an Embiid jersey, while he's getting a Kyrie Irving's not there anymore. Whatever, he's getting a.
All right, 1 to 10. Were you a quivering mess during the press
No, I wasn't. It hit me though. No tears actually shed. I kind of was being a jag off a little bit, like, oh man, how could I do that? You know. How could I sit through that experience again? But it was touching. It's crazy to me how much, because I know we all played sports at one point. I'll never forget the day that I hung up the skates for the last time, and that was my last hockey game. And I knew it at the time going into it, so it made it easier. But some people don't. It's all different. But how much that game meant to him, where he just broke down. He legitimately was breaking down. I was wondering, is it because he was so happy with everything he did, or because he feels he still has some left in the tank, but he knows he's making the right decision for his family? I was trying to figure out, which way it was going. But look, it was tough to sit through for sure. No tears down my eyes, but it was tough to sit through. My wife was like, whoa, hold on. This is crazy. It stopped her in her tracks. She's not the biggest football fan in the world, but she had to sit there and listen to it. And she was like, damn, this is something. So, I was in the middle. It hit me, but no tears.
I'll ask you something that's kind of difficult to do, but I find myself having to do it all the time. So I want to get your take on it as well. Put the fact that you're a member of the media to the side, and can be difficult to do, but I'm going to ask you to do it. Just as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, did it disappoint you that Jason Kelce did not take questions? Now, we always filter it through, well, we're the ones who are asking the questions, and we want the questions answered. We think we can ask a good question, if not the perfect question. You got to put all that aside. Just as an Eagle fan, growing up, Eagle fan, high school nuts, go with your buddies watching the game, and just as a fan, did it bother you that you couldn't get the answer to the question of, now, Jason, what's bothering you more? The one you just put out there. It's a good question. It's a very good question. If you were there that day and they were asking a question and you asked that, Hunter, I would go, good job, Hunter. I want to know the answer to that question too. You got to put that aside and just, as a fan, did it bother you if Jason Kelce said, yeah, I'm not taking any questions?
No, because I think that situation, look, it would have been awesome. It would have been cool. But that's just for him to say, hey, this is me saying my goodbyes. It is what it is. This is me saying my goodbyes. I'm able to speak for 45 minutes and then walk away without having to answer anything. As much as I want to defend what we do and say it's all right, and hey, we love the media and all, I'll give this one a pass to the players and go, Jason, you can handle this whatever way you want to handle this. And if that's a 45-minute speech with a lot of stops and cries, and you want to thank your hockey coach from Cleveland when you were 10 years old, then by all means, man, you're entitled to do it that way. So, no, not really. I never really gave it a thought on it either. So, no, I think it's fine the way that it was going.
And by the way, Kylie confirmed, I don't know if you saw Jody, but Jason's been working on that speech for years. Yeah, that wasn't, that's what we said. It wasn't like he did that in 2 days. That was pretty eloquent. That was a Hall of Fame, no doubt about it, retirement speech.
Did you guys, real quick, are we running out?
No, go ahead.
Well, I just got a question for you guys. Do you think that he took a shot at the room? Because I sure did.
Who took a shot?
When Jason Kelce went down that whole spiel of the media, the fans, you got to realize that, you got to respect them a little more. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but when he was talking about what it means to play in Philly, the fan base and how we approach it and all, I thought he was taking a little shot at Darius Slay, a little shot at A.J. Brown. All those guys
I didn't get that.
Well, maybe that's me nitpicking a little bit.
Now I'll go back and look at the transcript.
Yeah, the light bulb went off like, whoa, because he went.
I didn't get it in the moment. I
Okay.
didn't think about it in the moment, but I was focused on, because I think when he was talking about how inclusive the locker room is, that struck me, because I've been writing about that for years. Like, I think people are like, society sucks right now. Let's be honest. Everybody's against each other. Everybody hates each other. Either you agree with me or I hate you, that type of thing. NFL locker rooms are so inclusive, different backgrounds. He was talking about different races, different religions, different politics, and everybody accepts each other. I've written about that for years. He talked about that. So that kind of struck me. And then when something strikes you, you're not worried about the other stuff. So
yeah, well, go back and take a listen. I was like, whoa, he was talking about how you approach the fans and they'll boo you, but you got to realize that it's a brotherhood, this and that. Once you accept that, you approach it differently. And I'm like, this is coming right after Darius Slay and Steven Nelson and A.J. Brown going Jack Fritz and Ike Reese. So I'm like, I don't know. I wonder if there's something going.
Here was my take on that. Number one, I think it was more of an homage to the fans than it was a warning, a tale of warning for other teammates. I think he was playing up to the fans, which he did a lot of, which I think is very smart. More power to you, Jason. Number two, if he was saying it to a teammate, there's a couple of different ways you could say it. You could say it like, yo, douchebag, pay attention to what I'm saying. Or you could go, yo, bud, do me a favor. Listen up here. I think it would be more that. I think it would be the been through the wars. I've been here longer. I can lend you some of my wisdom rather than, yo, asshole, call him whatever you want. It's cut the crap. Or no, I don't think he was trying to lecture anyone. I think he might have been, if it turned out to be a helping hand for some guys he's leaving behind in the locker room, so be it. So that was my look at it. All right, where's Hassan Reddick being traded this weekend? Because the Eagles
Dallas
have to
Cowboys.
clear that stuff up by Monday. Cowboys?
Yeah, listen, I don't know. Dallas Cowboys for a third and a fifth.
Wow.
Isn't that what Adam Schefter just said 2 seconds ago?
Third and a fifth. He said a second or a third and a fifth.
No
so either
shot,
a second rounder or a third and a fifth.
Come on.
Yeah,
well,
here's the scary
remember
part about that. What did they give up for Byard? A fifth and a sixth?
Fifth, sixth, and Terrell Edmonds.
Edmonds to me is irrelevant, but a fifth and a sixth. So you got
poor Terrell
and a fifth, and the only difference between Byard and Hassan Reddick is the difference between a third and a sixth. Really? Is that the difference between them? Wow. That's not a lot to get in exchange for Hassan Reddick, one of the best defensive players in the National Football.
That was great, though, Chetty. This Terrell Edmonds, I don't care about it. Give me that fifth and sixth.
He started for Mike Tomlin for a couple of years down there in Pittsburgh.
Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah, come on.
All right, well, here's how we'll cut to the chase with Terrell Edmonds. Hunter Brody, Terrell Edmonds, going to be a free agent this year. Desire to bring him back to play with the Eagles.
What would you
on your scale of 0 to 10, 10 being, oh my God, I'll pick him up. I'll drive to Tennessee to pick him up.
What was your
bring
favorite
him back. 0
moment?
being, I'll shoot down the plane from the air. Where are you landing on the 0 to 10 scale?
A fat 0.
Your favorite moment of the Terrell Edmonds era. That's
couldn't
what
even tell. I think he
had
a tackle in there.
We got at Broads81. Make sure you follow Hunter on X, Twitter, Broads Media, Sports Talk WIP. You're going to get that Cleveland Cavaliers. Take off that jersey, Jason Kelce. Bigger boy, leadership or on the field, Jason Kelce. He's one of the greatest players that got to be on the field, right? We just said greatest player.
Yeah, I mean, yes, probably. And that's no disrespect to Cam Jurgens. I think you're still going to have a great offensive line, but I have to think it's on the field. And that's no disrespect to the leadership part of it, but it means one of the best centers ever.
And here's the thing that will be underreported, not because we don't have good guys like John who cover the team and we'll try and get to the bottom and but Jason Kelce and his ability to help the quarterback and move people around and change plays and get things done at the line of scrimmage. I got no bloody idea if Cam Jurgens could do that.
We're going to get into that.
Zero idea if he can do that.
It's going to be tougher for Jalen Hurts this year. We haven't even gotten into
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It's going to be tougher for Jalen this year.
Oh, yeah. I already have that written down as one of the topics for an upcoming show on WIP.
Nice.
That's
When
right.
are you next on WIP, big guy?
Tonight, 10 p.m. to
There
2
you
baby.
go.
That's a Jody Mack time. I'm taking the Jody Mack time on a Wednesday.
Feel free to use whatever you brought to the table here today and trot it out there again tonight, because it was all good here today. It'll be good tonight again as well on WIP. Thanks, Brods.
Thanks,
Of
bud.
course. You got it, guys.
That is Hunter Brody. WIP tonight, that's WIP work, and his Broads media stuff is always on point. All right, McDonald and McMullen coming back to put a bow on the show.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Mac guys, back to put a wrap on the show. Thank both Hunter Brody and Mike Gill for hopping on it. Both those guys, very good job with us today. All right, it's just a midweek Wednesday leading up to the new year. Monday is the beginning of legal tampering, or what's the NFL call it?
Legal negotiation period.
Okay, but you can't sign. You can only negotiate. And John tried to get either Hunter or I or Gill and I to give him a name who the Eagles are going to actually float out there by the Mike Sealski appropriately named information brokers. The Eagles they did a nice job getting that information out there with Hassan Reddick and the trade thing, because my first impression was, whoa, Hassan wants out. He's looking to get out of town. And then Hassan, immediately after it goes through the information brokers, has to come out and go, whoa. I've asked for trade. Eagles said, why don't you go out there and see what you worth on the open market? That was them. Don't look at me. I didn't knock on Howie Roseman's door and say, get me the hell out of here. So, yes, the information brokers will be handled over the weekend leading to Monday. You really think that they're going to have a name that's going to be big enough that's going to excite Eagle fans?
I said that's what I was trying to get. From my definition, I'm picking Cameron Curl. That's who I'm picking. My my definition, that is somewhat splashy. That is a 26-year, 25. I think I said he's going to be 26, whatever. In the prime of his career, is going to make over 10 million, probably 11, 12 million range. Good player, fits the scheme. I think that is somewhat splashy. Now, Hunter's saying that's not going to move the needle. You guys are on the air with callers. You say it's not going to move the needle. I defer to you guys. It should move the needle from a football perspective. Good player, ascending player. That's what free agency is about. You want to find that 25, 26 coming off his first contract with still room. Best case scenario, Brandon Brooks. We talk about it all the time. He wasn't Brandon Brooks before he got here. He was a pretty solid player in Houston, and everybody's like, all right, move on. Came here, turned into one of the best, arguably the best right guards in football. That's what you're looking for. I think it would be a big time move for this organization. Is it going to resonate? Probably not, but I think it's still a big.
All right, here's how I would determine splashy, somewhat splashy. Wake me up later. Did your outlet put out a top 100 free agent list?
I'm sure they did.
Right. You've got 3 different designations, so let it split it into thirds. If it's a top 33 free agent, that's splashy. If the guy's somewhere between 34 and 66, that's somewhat splashy. And if he's not even a top 66 free agents, that's wake me up when you get the guy to put pen to paper. Where do you think Curl? I think McKinney is borderline splashy and certainly somewhat splashy. I think Curl is somewhat splashy.
I'll tell you who I use. One, because he comes on the show, and one, you know how much respect I have for Brad Spielberger. I use Brad's list because of 2 reasons. One, I think he's really good at player evaluation, but 2, he's phenomenal. He's literally the best in the business when it comes to contract projections. So he's the guy I use, and just mainly, again, for the because I want to. He's got a really good feel for what guys are going to make, and he's a kind of scary accurate from that perspective. He's got Curl at 22 overall,
really,
and he's got McKinney at 44 overall.
Ooh,
so
I don't agree.
So
I think McKinney's a better player.
He's a bigger name, and he's in New York, bigger market, but I'm not sure he's a better player. Cameron Curl's a pretty good player, and he's ascending. He's stuck in Washington.
They play the same position, right? Since we got we're going over anyway. Go to Pro Football Focus. You like to give us the rankings. You've got all the rankings. They played the same position. Where did they finish up in the rankings?
Well, that's interesting because last year McKinney was better, and last year McKinney had a tremendous season. But the year prior, Curl was number 2 in the entire NFL of 88, and McKinney was 63rd. So it's kind of give and take. They haven't been as consistent as you would like. So I'm not going to argue with people that say McKinney's better. But I think most people, because he's a bigger name, he's a bigger draft. I think Curl was a 7th round pick. McKinney was a high level pick. He was a great college player from Alabama. Everybody knows him. I think it's closer than people think, is what I'm trying to say. And by the way, I would take either.
Right. But and by the way, does Brad in his rankings take what he thinks the salary is going to be into consideration?
Yeah. Yeah, he's got.
So has he got Carl making more money than Kenny? Getting a better offer?
He's got Carl 4 years, $12.5 million, $28 million guaranteed, $50 million total. He's got McKinney slightly above that, 4 years, $13.5 million, $30 million guaranteed, $54 million total. So they're right in the same ballpark.
All right, then I would. Again, somewhat splashy is the best you're going to do for either of those guys for me. All right, we'll be back. Maybe those two names are floated by the information brokers tied to the Eagles over the next couple of days and on into the weekend. We give this another shot again tomorrow. Johnny Mac, you up?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Mac
do it.
and Mac.
Get myself in more trouble, Jody.
Mac and Mac, right back here in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 360.